Greetings, fellow book enthusiasts. Welcome back to Timeless Tales and Thoughts. Happy Saturday! I hope you are gearing up for a great weekend. Maybe you have some fun family plans, or maybe your only plan is to sit back, relax, and curl up with a good book all weekend, which sounds like a great weekend to me. But I have other things to take care of this weekend, so I'm sure at some point I will be able to curl up with my book and just sit and relax. But right now is not that time. Right now I am going to share with you book number 7 from my reading challenge for 2026. This story was a lot of fun. It's probably the most fun story I've read so far. I really enjoyed it, and I think you and probably your kids will too. This story that I just finished is called The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell by Chris Colfer. The story is geared towards younger readers, so middle school, early teens would probably really enjoy this story, or even if you as the parent want to sit down and read it aloud with a younger reader, I think it would be a great option for doing that as well. This was some good, clean fun, and I really enjoyed reading through this book. It was adventurous, it was witty, it was a different take on the fairy tales, and I really enjoyed that refreshing look at the fairy tales and the way the modern kids interacted with the fairy tales, and some of the twists and the turns and the surprises that maybe your traditional fairy tales and even some of the different takes on the fairy tales may not have explored before. So this was a great story, and I would definitely recommend it for the younger reader, even for yourself, even if you're just going to read it for yourself. Actually, I think I'm going to bring this with me when I go visit my family in a couple of weeks, because my mom's wanting to read it. So yes, great story. So what was this story all about? So let's read the back here. It says, Alex and Connor Bailey's world is about to change. When the twins' grandmother gives them a treasured fairy tale book, they have no idea they're about to enter a land beyond all imagining, the land of stories where fairy tales are real. Okay, so the main characters are Alex and Connor Bailey. They're twins. They're 12 years old. They're going through a rough period in their life right now. It's just them and their mom, and occasionally their grandma comes and stops by to visit. On her most recent visit, grandma leaves them with a book called The Land of Stories that they grew up reading with their grandma and their dad. So it's all the different fairy tales: Red Riding Hood, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, Jack and the Beanstalk, Rapunzel, all of them. And they're very different personalities. The twins, one twin, Alex, feels like she's kind of isolated and alone. She doesn't have a lot of friends. Connor, on the other hand, he's got a lot of friends. He's not very into his academics. So they're two very different kids. And then on their most recent visit of their grandmother, she leaves them the Land of Stories book, just so that they can have a piece of home with them, to help them through this difficult time that they're going through. And looking through the story one night, Alex and Connor fall into the storybook, and now they have to go on an adventure and figure out how they are going to get back to their land. They run into a character named Froggy who helps them find a journal. Or doesn't, no, wait, he doesn't help them find a journal. He gives them a journal with the directions for this wishing spell. So now they have to go through the land of stories, all the different fairy tales broken out into their different kingdoms, and find these items for the wishing spell so that they can make a wish and return back to their own land. As they go along, they encounter all the popular fairy tales: Cinderella, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty. They have an encounter with the big bad wolf and the evil queen from Snow White. And it's a really exciting adventure and a very surprising ending, and how the kids do eventually get back home. And some of the stories makes you feel, what's the word for it? Sympathetic. Makes you feel a little more sympathetic towards a couple of the more characters that we would more associate as the villains, and a little bit of sympathy for our hero characters as well. And there's a fun exchange between Goldilocks, Jack and the Beanstalk, and Little Red Riding Hood. That was that was really fun to read through, and I found myself I was like at the edge of my seat, like, ooh, how is this going to turn out? it was fun. And so I really enjoyed this story. I highly recommend it for anyone who's looking for something light, and I don't know if light and fluffy is the right word for it, but definitely something light and fun, with a little bit of adventure and fairy tales, especially if you like that kind of twist on fairy tales a little bit. It's great, I think, for the kids as well, whether the kids want to read it by themselves. It is a bit of a thick book, so I would definitely say you probably need to have a stronger middle school reader, or a teenager who's more interested in this. Or it is also a great option, in my opinion, to sit down and read aloud as a family. Everybody take some turns maybe, or if you don't have a strong reader, mom, dad, get in there, read to your kids. They say reading to your kids is, no matter how old they are, is beneficial. Spending time with them, and it builds their vocabulary. And here I go giving all my teachery advice. You don't need that. We're here for fun. So I recommend it, whether you read it together as a family, whether you give it to your child as a gift, whether you read it to yourself. It was a fun story. Great read. This is also a series. I'm not, it has a list on the back here, a couple of the other ones. Hold on, I have to take my glasses off for this. They're really small. A Grim Warning, Beyond the Kingdom. I can't read them all. They're kind of tiny print. But there are other adventures in the Land of Stories. So if you truly enjoy this one, or if your child really enjoyed this one, you might want to look into getting the other books in the series. I might, at some point, continue the series. Probably not this year, because my to be read pile is huge, and I've got a lot of books to get through. So maybe I'll look into those for 2027 to finish the series or continue the series. But it's definitely something I would consider. And yeah, so that was book 7. Great story. And thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share these videos with your friends. I hope that maybe I am inspiring you to pick up some of these books, give you a walk down memory lane if you've read some of the books that I've talked about. And happy reading.